What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Combat Corporation, your source of combat sports. I'm your host, Al the Postmaster Morrow. Today, I have a gear review on the Barric Boxing Classic American Training Gloves. Alright folks, as always, I'm incredibly excited to bring you yet another gear review, and today I'm very excited for these gloves because they are a first for the channel. They've made channel history here, so congrats to Barric Boxing for that. But not only were these gloves designed and made here in the United States, but every material that you will see featured in this glove today was resourced within the United States of America. From the leather, the padding, the stitching, the lining, even down to the paint on the front, everything was crafted and made right here in the United States, which is a very rare thing to say nowadays. And again, we have the Barric Boxing Classic American Training Gloves. Now, Barric Boxing is a brand I've wanted to get my hands on for a very long time because I remember watching Carlo from C Squared, which I always recommend you guys go watch his reviews, as well as Simon from Fifth to Box. They're very great reviews to watch. You get different perspectives from mine, and I loved the reviews that he had on his bag mitts and on the gloves that he did the collaboration with. He had the red, gold, and silver gloves, and I wanted to get a pair of those, but they sold out very quick. And then on top of it, I emailed the owner of Barric Boxing and said, I really want a pair of your bag mitts, and he said, I'm a one-man show and I just simply don't have the time to do it. I hope you understand it. I completely got it. But then I didn't really hear much about Barric Boxing, and I thought it was just a brand that would come and go, unfortunately, because that happens sometimes in the world of boxing equipment or MMA equipment. Some brands come, some brands go. Some of them I had missed opportunities, and I just simply thought that was it. But what a cool concept, stuff made right here in the United States. Well, basically, I saw Box Up Nation, and they're out of Texas, where Barric Boxing is based out of, and I read that Richard Barton, the owner, got in touch with a guy from Box Up Nation, and they had a couple discussions, and basically Richard Barton made a bunch of stuff to bring to Box Up Nation a few years ago, and actually hand-delivered them to Box Up Nation. And I always recommend you order stuff from Box Up Nation. They have some of the best stuff, and you always want to support small businesses like that and retailers, and you definitely know where it's coming from with retailers. But when it comes to that, I was so excited, but I looked online and they were sold out all the time. But about a year ago, I saw Barric Boxing had a website. I don't know if they had it before and I just missed it, but I saw that they had 2 pairs of gloves that you can order, but there would be some time because he hand makes all these by himself. So one thing you got to understand about these gloves, everything that you get is made by a proud Texan that has a bit of land, and he has a workshop on that land, and he uses all this old equipment between sewing machines that are a little bit older from the early 1900s and stuff like that, uses old tools and everything like that, and he wanted to make a pair of classic American crafted gloves with a modern twist, and he's very proud of that. For whatever reason, people from Texas are just very good at crafting things. I think I have a member of my family that lives in Texas that's an accountant or something that's very good with woodworking for some reason. Don't know why I remember that, but most people from Texas I find are very good at just some type of craft or whatever it might be, whereas I'm from New York and all I've been doing is just kind of complaining I have to shovel too much very heavy wet snow lately. So that's always the fun part. But that's awesome that he was able to do that. He made classic American gloves with modern designs to it to fit your hands anatomically. The materials on the inside protect you a little bit better than it would before, but with those same type of qualities that the US was known for so long. A lot of people don't know that the United States was so well known for making boxing equipment. Obviously, the United States started Everlast, which at one point was the best brand on the planet. It's still very well known, by far the most well-known glove or glove brand or boxing brand period in the entire world. But then also there are different brands that I can name off the top of my head that you can still see at Walmart for different sports like baseball, football, soccer, all those different sports like that, like Wilson, Rawlings, Spalding, all used to make some of the best boxing equipment in the world. But of course, over the last 30 to 40 years, we have exported so much, and still there there are great brands and gloves that you can get from these countries, but every time you get a pair of gloves, what does it say? Made in Pakistan, made in China, made in Vietnam, made in Mexico, Thailand, Japan, Korea, anywhere but the United States. And for whatever reason, I can't explain it, but people from the United States see made in the USA and immediately find comfort in that. And I do too, for whatever reason. Doesn't bother me so much that things come from different places, but it is cool to see that they are keeping the classic American craftsmanship alive with these gloves. So with that whole debacle out of the way, I always try and give you as much info as I can about the brand. Also, fun fact about Richard Barton, the owner of Barric Boxing. He also helped design the lace and loop. I don't think I mentioned that in this take anyway. I take a bunch of different takes. But besides that, let's go ahead and go into the exact model I have, and we can talk about some options that you got. Today, again, I have the classic American boxing gloves by Barric Boxing, and these are in 16 ounces. They only come in one color that I saw on their website, and that is black and white, primarily just black, really. And you can get them in lace-up and hook and loop closure. The lace-up version is actually a raised 3-cuff ridge. You know, that way you can have the lace tracks, easier to lace up the gloves to stay in place. And again, only the black coloration, but there's 3 of your core 3 sizes, and that is again 12, 14, and 16 ounces that you can pick from. I went with 16 because I'm a bigger guy. I'm about 260 pounds as of this recording. They fit my hands just fine, but I do believe you can email Barric Boxing's website and say I want something bigger or smaller, and I'm pretty sure you can accommodate that. I'm not too sure. I imagine it would cost more. There is another model that is very similar to this glove, basically made the same, and I talked to Barric Boxing a little bit. I noticed that there were a few very minute differences, like the split thumb is a little bit different, but there is the vintage gold along with the classic American, and all the vintage gold is about $50 more. The only difference between the vintage gold and the classic American that I saw is that down the middle here with the thumb, I definitely noticed there's a welted seam where it looked like it was a solid connect with the vintage gold, and it was $50 more because gold, anything is actually more expensive. If you don't believe me, go on Winning's website and you can see that their gold gloves are much more expensive than their white, black, red, and blue ones. They're generic colors, just like their purple and green ones are more expensive. Some colors are just more difficult to work with, and I found that out over the years of like kind of getting into boxing equipment. It just is more expensive because it's harder to maintain, is what I'm to understand, but that's besides the point. And on top of it, the lace-up version of the vintage gold is a flat cuff instead of the 3 raised ridge, and I'll put pictures on the screen so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. But it's virtually the same glove. I talked to the guy that owns Barric Boxing over Instagram, and he told me that the Velcro versions are the same, but again, that $50 increase, gold is just of anything, even if it's not made from real gold, it's just slightly more expensive, and you just got to understand that, I guess. But again, my exact model, 16 ounce hook and loop closure, only black coloration, but I think you can get different colors if you ask for them, and you can get different sizes if you ask for them. Just understand it will cost you a little bit more. Now, when we go into the look of the glove, again, the first thing that pops out to me when I took this out of the box was actually the grain marks. And usually I talk about that in the design of the glove, but you have to take that into consideration with the look because it gives it that classic look, that vintage leather look. All that nice natural grain that you have. And then on top of it, the whole glove is a solid classic black. I wouldn't call it a matte black, but it's a very shiny black and it looks nice. That's the natural color of the leather, which is awesome. There's no painting or anything with that except for the logo here, which you can see has some faded out stars. I would like to think it's maybe a little bit more hand painted. He probably put like a cutout and then he hand paints it inside. I don't think there's a spray paint here, but you can see that it's faded a little bit. And then you also have Barric going across with the 2 lines, and it gives it that nice cool look. We go over to the thumb, you can see that welted seam, that nice leather welted seam, which is what they do is they kind of burn off the leather there and it seeps into the actual over the stitching to keep it a lot more strong. And then when we come here, you can see we got more of that welted seam in between the thumb and also towards the tip of the fingers, and you can see that we also have the black thumb attachment. The thumb itself is black and has more of those nice natural grain marks. We turn it around to the palm and you can see, first thing that pops out to me obviously is that 16 ounce stamp that you can see that's also painted on there, but the actual stitching, the white stitching really works together well with the black leather and it looks really nice. You can see we have the double line stitching and you can see the look of the glove. We have a couple of the breathe holes going on top of the grip bar and underneath the grip bar, and more of that stitching going on the inside. You also have white thumb piping right on the inside there. And turning it around on the wrist cuff, you can see more of the stitching that's actually surrounding the cuff itself. Then you see Barric, which is more of an American flag look. You can see the stars and bars with Barric going across. When we open the glove, It also says made in Texas or Texas made at the base. Right there. There you go. And you can see that's faded off a little bit too, but after heavy use, after almost a year of having these, that's normal. You can see more stitching going down here, and it looks very well designed, and I like that. The interior lining is also black, and it has a tag on the inside that I believe still says Texas made right in there, or made in the USA with the American flag right there. If you can see that, kind of hard to fold it back. It's tucked right in there. And then you also have a black elastic strap on the inside. So that's what the glove looks like. I will say on the other one, it hasn't faded away. But on the wrist strap itself, you can see it says Texas made right there. But other than that, the other one is actually completely faded away. Now, talking about the actual build and the quality of the glove is really cool, because this is where I actually shine a little bit. I know a little bit about leather. I've always loved leather products since I was a kid. I like the coats and stuff. I have a whole closet full of stuff. You can go to thrift stores and find really good leather products, funny enough. But when it comes to this glove, the outer shell is made out of very sturdy American-made cowhide leather, full grain cowhide leather. Now, when I say full grain, some people get confused. Full grain means that they took the hide off the animal, tanned it, and put it to work, and that's it. And you can tell based off the thickness of this leather itself of how soft and plush it is, because I used to think they used to put foam inside the leather itself, but then I started thinking, you know, when it comes to the leather, when you have a really nice thick hide, think about what leather used to be used for, not just for clothing, but also for bedding back in the day, because it maintained temperature very well, kept you warm during the winter months, and people still use like caribou hides and stuff. They fold it over and it's very soft. That membrane of the hide itself feels kind of like a very soft, thin layer of foam, and that's what you get here with this leather, and it is very soft and plush leather, very supple as well, and it's very loose over the padding of the glove, which is nice. So it allows the padding on the inside to breathe, and the leather is very easy to clean and maintain because it's such a high quality leather. Barric gets their leather from the upper Midwestern states, I want to say, is the region, Minnesota, Iowa, which are very well world-renowned leathers in the entire scope of things, actually, because that is cattle country in the United States. Very good for leather, because this is funny, just a funny thing to say, but insects don't really bother them for a certain amount of the year. Basically, it's cold. It's kind of like in New York. It's cold for a while. All the insects die, so the cattle's usually inside. They're very well taken care of, very well fed. They don't have insects biting at their skin. They don't get branded or anything. Well, they probably do in different places. But still, there's no like damage to the skin so much compared to other parts of the country where it's warm all the time, and that's why, you know, in Texas it's more like beef cattle and stuff like that there, whereas in Iowa and different places, they actually treasure themselves on their leather production. In certain parts of New York, like the leather stocking region, which was the capital region of like the Albany area, used to have really good quality leather too. That's why it's called the general leather stocking area, which is pretty cool. But that's a nice little piece of history. So that's what the leather is made out of on this glove. It's all from the United States, in the upper Midwestern part of the United States. Like I said, states like Minnesota, Iowa, I want to say Michigan, all those different states are very well known for their leather production. And it still smells like the cleanest leather. And it's a different leather feel than anything you've ever tried on a pair of gloves. For me, it's better than, I won't say better than, but it has a different feel than like Reyes, than Winning. It's not so smooth to it. It is smooth, but it has like that ruggedness to it that you can tell that that's all they did. They took it off the animal and tanned it. There's top grain leather as well, which is where they take all the imperfections off, but this is 100% full grain. But I'll get off the leather topic. That's why I put timestamps for you guys, so you guys can go ahead and look through stuff. But I want you to know everything about this. I think it's really cool. When we talk about the padding of the glove, like a lot of other gloves now, they are doing the nice, cool combination of horsehair and foam. But what they did is they took classic American horsehair, which comes from the same region of the United States, I believe, and basically they quilted it. And what that means is when they put it in quilts, it's like in different pockets, and they actually stitch it into the glove itself, so it doesn't move. Because it used to be they just stuffed the glove with horsehair, and that's how they figured out the weight of the glove. That's, you know, okay, your glove weighs 10 ounces, so does his. Perfect, we're good, let's fight. That was the idea. But you used to bat the horsehair away from the knuckles, so you'd basically be hitting people with bare knuckles. That was the idea of horsehair. It's a very malleable material to use. But this is quilted on the inside, and it's accompanied by NASA foam, as he calls it, which has a 100% retention rate, memory retention rate. And basically what that means is if I put this down and I put like a weight on it, like 100 pounds of weight, the foam would still puff out afterwards. It maintains that memory, and he calls it NASA foam. I'm sure there might be a different name for it, but the idea is he puts it in spaceships so it can withstand the vacuums of space. It can withstand a punch. Trust me, that's the whole idea behind it. And it is a really cool feeling because that padding is very soft, and you can hear the crinkling. I'll be quiet for a second. You can hear that crinkle of the horsehair, and that's a really good indication that he's using real horsehair. But you can also see when I push in, you can see the foam kind of move around in different spots. So you have that layering in this glove all throughout, and it's one solid foam piece basically that goes right from the tip of the glove all the way down to the back of the cuff to protect the whole back of your hand, which is where most of the breaks happen, in your knuckles, the back of your hand here, and your wrist, and it all happens on top. Very few injuries ever happen on bottom, which is why when you tape, you splint it towards the top, kind of like a plywood effect. And that's basically what you have going on with the padding here. So that NASA foam dampens impact a lot, and I've never once had an issue with the padding of this glove. I tell you guys, I try and break my hands when I use these things so you can get it, and the NASA foam cushions impact, and I would definitely put that padding category in a puncher pillow category, which is very rare. But the horsehair foam gives you that awesome classic puncher's feel, like let's say an old school Reyes fight glove, but you still have that awesome protective qualities with the NASA foam. Now when we go ahead to the rest of the glove, we can talk about the thumb, and you can see that we have a split thumb here, so I'm wondering if that was just because, you know, he wanted a better positioning of it, but that thumb is also feels just like the NASA foam throughout the entire glove. And it feels very soft, and it's tucked in perfectly, but it's still loose enough to go out and get clinches. As you can see, that thumb attachment is not too tight to the inside, but it tucks right behind, so you're never jamming your thumb at all, which is great. So it's going to stop injuries that way, and you're still able to open it to parry and catch punches. It's also great for big glove sparring and MMA. When we go ahead and go to the palm, you can see again we have those breathe holds towards the top. That will just help that glove air out a little bit more. I never really noticed a difference of temperature when you use gloves that have breathe holes. I think that's just more of a myth. I think it's just to help the glove breathe when you like leave it alone for a bit. But that grip bar is pretty soft. It's a little bit more firm than I'd say the back of the glove, but it's still pretty soft, and it gives you nice solid grips on the inside. And you can see that we have double line stitching all the way throughout the palm and the grip bar as well, just to give it that reinforced stitch feel, which is awesome. And then you have more welted seams throughout the entirety of the glove, keeping everything in perfect shape and condition, and you have that going towards a split. Now the cool thing about this split on the back of the wrist that you can see is that unlike most gloves that would split here, it doesn't mean the glove was in two parts. Once again, you have that leather and the padding rather, that is going all the way down here. It's one solid cuff, and that's one thing that he said keeps the glove in a better anatomical shape for the back of your hand, and that's what we have going on here with this glove. And you can feel it because this feels just like the NASA foam on the back of my hand as well, even through the wrist strap that we have. So this is just to keep everything in place. So I think the glove was open in one solid sheet, and then he stitched it just to keep it closed, which I think is really unique. I think more gloves should probably go that route. When we open the strap, going back to the palm though, you can see that we have very soft foam going throughout the palm, and I'm wondering if he uses that NASA foam down here because it has the same quality. I don't think it's like that insulator type foam or style foam. I stutter every now and again. I got a lot to say. But basically, it feels just like that NASA foam to me, maybe a little bit more plush. But it doesn't feel like that insulator type foam, but that's great. You know, protects the inside of your hand, also helps it hug to your forearm and palm, and also your wrist a little bit easier. One thing that I love this glove pulls off though is this elastic band is huge on the inside, and it's a little bit lower on your arm to give you that replicated style of like lace up feel. And this for me is one of the closest gloves I've ever tried that's hook and loop or Velcro closure that feels just like a lace up glove. It fits on your arm just like a lace up glove, and it's awesome. The Velcro strap is very, very sturdy. You can see it has, I don't even know what type of Velcro to call that, but it's like the shiny, like new style of Velcro. And it's not so rugged on your skin. And on top of it, this is not frayed at all on this side. This Velcro is still in very, very good shape after almost a year of beating these gloves up. And the inside is a very nice style of vinyl, or a nylon that he's very proud of, because he says it's rugged enough to where it's very moisture repellent, it's antimicrobial, things won't live in it, it's very easy to dry out, which is true. And on top of it, it's soft enough to where it's not going to be like, say, inside of a Grant or some other Mexican gloves where it's very rough towards the tip of the finger, it's the back of the hand, feels like denim. In this case, you have that awesome interior lining that feels really good on the back of the hand. And when I go ahead and put my hand on the inside of the glove, it is a little bit tricky to get on if you're just doing it yourself, because that elastic strap really does stick to your arm perfectly. And then on top of it, when I come here, it straps up just fine. And I feel no impact on my knuckles at all. I push down here, and you would think, because it has the horsehair, that you would think it would you would feel the knuckles, but I know where my knuckles are just because it's my body, and my head's telling me, oh, your knuckles are here, but I can't feel them. I'm pushing down in this and I can't feel them whatsoever. There's tons of room on the inside of the hand compartment, perfect for big wraps if you need them, but personally I don't think anything but a traditional wrap is needed. You know, I think if you have brittle hands, it actually might be a good option for you because of how much they protect you, and it still has that nice give to it. When you punch, you know you're making solid contact, but at the same time, it just gives you that nice hugging feel like you're punching a cloud. And I don't know how they pulled that off, but they did. Some gloves have done that, and it just feels like a generic pillow glove. You punch it and there's like no impact on it, but it feels like you're making solid contact with everything that you hit. What I love as a pro MMA fighter, when we do big glove MMA sparring, and I use these primarily going into my last fight that I had in August, a lot, and I still use them today a lot, but the grips are great. Whether you're going for wrist control, you know, back of the arm, whether you're going for neck, top of the head, or even trying to get submissions, I actually got good enough grip in these to actually try and rip a double wrist lock or a Kimura. Still, the grip's not as great for that as I wish it was, but you know what? Not a lot of boxing gloves are, so I'm not going to complain about that. This glove was actually very surprising, so I think it would be great not only for boxing, but for MMA, Muay Thai, kickboxing. I think this is an overall great combat sport glove. Fits the hand great. Tons of room on the inside if you need to wrap your hands up big. But let's go ahead and go into the bag work so you can see these gloves in action, and then we'll come back with my final thoughts. So when I first started using these gloves, the first thing that shocked me is, although there's horsehair padding, I am able to nail as hard as I can into the bags because of that NASA foam, and it feels like your hands are being hugged and cradled by some of the softest foam you've ever used in your entire life. At the time of this recording, I think my knee was still bothering me a little bit more, but you can see that the gloves are still very nice and balanced. They're very light on your hands, so you're able to let your hands fly and go. When I say I'm trying to break my hands on the inside of these gloves when I nail into them like this, I'm trying to break them so that way I can really test that NASA foam. Everything feels so good with these gloves. They're so nice and balanced. The interior lining is comfortable. The fist position is great. They're great for clinch. In general, they're one of my favorite gloves I've ever used when it comes to bags and pads. Overall, I think they are absolutely awesome. So we come to the look of the gloves. Again, we have that classic American craftsmanship. That leather just screams, I am made of high quality, if you ask me. And you see all the nice American flag logos and the different painted logos. It gives it that really homemade feel, which I absolutely love about the glove. Overall, it's basic to look at, but it is sharp. It looks like a well-dressed man. Alright folks, so my final thoughts on the Barric Boxing Classic American Training Gloves is I have loved every single second with these gloves. From the unboxing to trying them for the first time to trying them almost a year later, they have just held up great, and I definitely think these gloves would give you an awesome shelf life and a great training experience, especially if you don't want to try those big brands that we know of nowadays. But there are some drawbacks for the generic consumer, I would say, that is maybe just trying to get something that will get the job done, compared to someone that really wants to A, collect gloves, or B, they really want something that's made in the United States, or C, they want a professional grade glove for their training. So with that said, let's go into a couple of the goods and bads, I guess you could say, although I gotta be honest, there is not much bad with this glove. In fact, for me personally, there's nothing bad with the glove. But let's go ahead and go into the goods first. Talking about the outer shell and the quality of the glove is absolutely phenomenal. When I tell you there's no glove in my collection that has leather that feels this good, I mean it. There are some gloves that come very close, but even still, they have full grain leather, but they're like smoothed over. They don't feel like they were just taken from the animal and used, which I appreciate that they did that. For me, this leather feels like a solid leather coat that I would use during the winter months that would keep me warm. And that's exactly the style of leather that I have. And even now that this glove is only a couple inches away from my nose, it still has that amazing cowhide scent. And I love how it feels on my hands, and everything about it is just awesome. It's a great leather on the outside, and because it's such a high quality leather, the taking care of this glove is just basically second nature to you. I've only used Leather Honey cleaner and conditioner once just to see how the leather would react to it, and all it did was just basically make the glove shine for a little bit. It did not need the help, but I did it just to see how it reacts, so I can tell you during this video that yes, it reacts very well to leather cleaner and conditioner if it ever came to that. But the odor of the glove stays the same. It's that nice classic leather scent. The glove in general is very, very easy to clean because of that leather, and the interior lining is also very easy to clean because it does not maintain moisture at all, which is awesome. I always tell you guys, you never want the gloves inside to get so moist because it will eventually seep into the padding and the foam, the whole build of the glove. Even the stitching will start to rot away from all the bacteria, because odors isn't just odor, it's bacteria that is slowly killing your glove. So that's absolutely awesome that this glove repels moisture. I've never once had this glove. I have just the experiment. I put it on my glove purifier for 5 or 10 minutes, and that's more than enough for it. I've just left it out for about 10 to 20 minutes, and it was dry immediately. And to be honest, guys, I don't really wear hand wraps a whole lot anymore. It's just not my thing, I guess. You know, I do if I ever feel like I'm going to nail the bag for a long time, just for the added protection. But usually if you don't wear hand wraps, it's kind of like having the same effect with shoes and socks. The socks will absorb the sweat, so your shoes don't. These gloves do not maintain moisture in my experience whatsoever, and I even dared with a pair of gloves like these, left them in my bag overnight once, took them out, and they were still really not that wet, which was absolutely incredible. I thought that was crazy. So the liner is incredible, easy to clean. The outer shell is very easy to clean if you needed to. I've wiped it down with a Lysol wipe here or there, but honestly, the leather, the high quality leather, you don't need to do much with this glove. And when you have a good leather quality, you know, it's very anti-acidic, and so it goes against sweat, blood, all the different type of oils that are in our skin and everything like that do not deteriorate the leather or the glove really that much in general. So that's awesome. Cleaning's great. The durability is awesome. I would easily give these gloves a shelf life of 6 years or more, just like I would with the other top level brands up there. On top of it, the padding and the protection is what shocked me the most. When I tell you I try and break my hands in these gloves, guys, I do that for all of them to let you know, do I feel pain or discomfort anywhere? And the answer is no. Never had a wrist feel uncomfortable or torque back the wrong way here. The glove's always in a natural position with my hand, and it always moves with my hand the way I want it to move. I feel like the only way you would really hurt your wrist in this glove is if you messed up yourself. And that's awesome about this glove. The other thing I would say about the padding is that NASA foam cradles all impact. Like I said, if this foam is really what it is and what it's advertised to be, it's meant to be launched up into space and take the vacuum of space, breaking through the atmosphere and all those things. I think my punch is not going to be as hard as that personally. So it's incredible, and it's crazy how well protected the glove is. And at the same time, that horsehair padding gives you that awesome classic puncher's feel from some of your favorite fight gloves or training gloves that maybe you tried by Horeshair or maybe some other brands out there that you can stop to think of. And the horsehair feels awesome within this glove, and it doesn't move anywhere. And it's just a really good puncher's feel with that pillow quality. It hugs your hand in a certain way. Whenever I hit the bag or sparring in these gloves, I always feel solid contact, but I know these gloves are also taking care of my partner because of that NASA foam. So they're a safe glove too. In general, very comfortable, very protective gloves. I've never once felt any type of discomfort in this. Tons of room on the inside if you need to wrap your hands up big, although I personally don't think you need to. I think the glove is plenty protective, although I do have very sturdy, strong hands. So always take that into consideration that I always recommend wrap your hands before any type of training when it comes to punching. I just have never really had bad luck with my hands before, unless I was younger and I was still developing. But now, no, I haven't had like hand or wrist pain in years, basically. But going into some of the things that maybe you would take into consideration if these gloves would not be for you would be the following. And it's kind of like one of those things where price does become a thing. The gloves go for about $500, and yes, you get very awesome gloves, and they also come with, I forgot to show you, this really cool like burlap type sack that has Barric on it as well. I always forget to show you the bags these gloves come with, but I had it next to me and I just saw it and I wanted to let you know. But basically, that's kind of what you're getting. You're getting really well-made gloves that were made in the United States, but there's a couple things you got to take into consideration if you are a general consumer. For one, $500 is a lot of money, and that's not short from like winning prices or some fly gloves out there. You know, looking at my shelf, some rival gloves can go up to $300 or more. You know, they don't really often hit that $600 mark, $600 mark. A pair of Grants I bought that are right over here, go for, you know, I bought those for 600 bucks a long time ago. So you're putting a lot of money into it. The one bright side, Barric Boxing does have the payment plans, which I take full advantage of when it comes to a pair of gloves that I want. You know, so I pay a certain amount a month or every couple weeks, or, you know, however much, you know, for 6 months, a year, 18 months, you know, in this case, I think I did 6 months. I pay them off quicker. But basically that's what you're getting into. Whereas you might have the general consumer that says, I can order from Rival, Reyes, I can order from Venom, I can order from Savas, I can order from Top Boxer, I'm just looking at all the brands I'm seeing, from Fortress, from, you know, No Boxing, No Life, from Messenger, Bryant Boxing, all those different places that usually have something readily available, and I don't have to wait a long time for them. That's the issue when you have one guy making a pair of gloves, is that it's just going to take a while, and you got to go watch his Instagram. It's just a thing. It's a thing of beauty. It's something to behold, is that he's using all this old equipment and he's doing it all himself. He has a quality assurance team and people that help him ship stuff out, but other than that, it's all one guy making these gloves. So you might order a pair of gloves, and guess what? These are gaining traction. It might be 6 weeks or more till you get these gloves. It took mine 3 weeks. And if I'm honest, I think he was being really nice to me about that. I paid for these gloves myself, but, you know, in talking to him about them and how excited I was, he was probably being generous and pushing them along more, which I am very grateful for. I could be very wrong there, but I'm just saying that's the idea that I had behind it. But when it comes to these gloves, that's what you're getting. It's $500. It's very expensive. It might take a while to come in, and there are more readily available options that do a great job too. Do they do as good a job at these? No. In my opinion, they don't. I think these gloves, I would rather get them compared to a pair of Reyes. I would rather get in Grants. I like these more than Winnings. These are right up there, if not better than some of the Rival gloves that I've used, and these are very close to one of my favorite brands, Hit and Move. I think they are absolutely right up there. They are absolutely awesome to see how they are. But, you know, that's another brand that has stuff that's readily available. And they also have a Horeshair glove that I'm going to review here soon that does a very close job to these, if not rivals them right on the spot. So that's something that you got to take into consideration and look into. Overall, I think they would appeal to a professional. I think they would work for anybody from beginner, intermediate to pro, because they have all those great qualities. But again, who has the money to invest $500 into their gloves if they're not a professional? You know what I mean? Like, unless you just want something that's going to last you forever, you want to hit bags for the next 20 years, get these to last you that long. I would bet they would last you a long time. But I think for a pro that's going to use them like the way I use them, which is every day, I'm on a heavy bag for a minimum of 8 to 10 rounds, 8 to 10 5-minute rounds as a pro MMA fighter, wailing into the bag as hard as I can. That's the idea, is I need them to last. And on top of it, I use these for sparring, bag work, pads, everything. So I need them to last me for a minimum. In this case, I would say they would last you up to 5 or 6 years or more. So that's what you're getting into. But with that said, what is my score on these gloves? What would I rate them? Well, that's one of the easier questions I can do. Sometimes it's hard to score gloves, but in this case, it wasn't. Easy 10 out of 10, S tier, excellent glove, which is absolutely awesome. These gloves have been incredible for me. They protect my hands. They are comfortable. They're great to punch with. They have a unique blend of materials. And again, you got to take into consideration how often you see a glove that says made right here in the United States and actually means it was made here in the United States. And we have fact checking and everything for that. I think that is really cool that they were able to pull that off. And I think coming from a one-man show with Richard Barton and Barric Boxing is very, very impressive. But again, some of the drawbacks, $500 is a lot for a general consumer. You might have to wait a little bit, upwards of 6 weeks, and it's one guy making this stuff, so it might take a little bit to get them in your possession, but it's worth every penny if you buy them. Like I said, I would get these over any pair of Reyes I've ever tried, Grant, Winning. I like these more than some of my Rival gloves I've had. There are very few gloves that I've tried that really, like, compare to these, if I'm honest. They are very, very good. They fit my style very well. I still think if you have brittle hands, they are worth to try. I would just, again, wrap your hands up if you're going to use those. And if you really think the Horeshair is going to bother your knuckles that much, or maybe you can't train with Horeshair stuff, stick to the generic stuff. Well, not generic, but stick to the stuff that got you to the dance, like Winning and stuff like that. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm sure Richard Barton would understand himself. But with that said, guys, if you have any questions on these gloves, and I want you to ask, that's why this video is longer, because there's so much to go into gloves like these. Whenever you're spending this much money, I know my videos seem so long-winded. I need you to know everything about this glove because it is quite an investment. So please, I beg of you, comment below. Let me know if you have any questions about these gloves. Message me on my social media pages. I usually just keep up with TikTok and Instagram now, but you're welcome to reach out on any platform that you see me on. But again, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Instagram and YouTube are the ones I respond to the most. Ask me questions about the gloves and let me know if you want me to review something in particular. Comment that below as well. And don't forget to share this with your friends if they're looking for new combat sports gear. Some more reviews coming out very soon and some other fun videos I have planned for the channel. And hey, by the way, 11,000 subscribers. That was all because you guys did the two big things that a lot of people don't. That is hit the like button and hit the subscribe button. And guess what? There's a third one, lucky number 3, and that is hit this the notification bell for the next video upload. I appreciate it all so much. Can't believe we're at 11,000 already. I so appreciate all of you. And like I said, please feel free to reach out. I love talking to you guys. It's been a great ride so far, and I can't wait to keep riding this. So with that said, guys, thank you so much for choosing your source of combat sports, the Combat Corporation. I've been your host, Al the Postmaster Amaro, and as always, I'll see you on the next episode. Have a great day, everybody. Hey everybody, this is a bonus clip. I've never done this for a video before, so again, Barric Boxing making history. We got the first bonus clip, but I wanted to show you something very cool about classic American craftsmanship. These are a pair of Everlast boxing gloves that my boxing coach used way back in the early 60s. My coach was a light heavyweight contender. He was ranked number 5 in the world at one point. He was a chief sparring partner for Bob Foster, who was a light heavyweight champion for a long time. Also worked with Joe Frazier, Jimmy Ellis, Ken Norton, and a lot of other guys. Was actually in the same Marine platoon as Ken Norton back in the day, which I thought was really cool. They both won the All-Marine Championship, and he gave these to me as a gift when he saw my channel, and these are awesome. These are a pair of training gloves, and you can tell from the crinkle too. You got some horsehair towards the tip, and it's kind of hard up here, and you got some really soft, what feels like foam, I think, back in the day. And it says 12 here, and my coach said that these were primarily bag gloves that he used back then. So he used 12-ounce bag gloves, and he wanted me to have these. And what's cool about these is this was still when the Galome family owned Everlast. Awesome part is the gloves feel just like these. So I wanted to show this, you know, if Richard ever watches this, you know, the owner of Barric Boxing, is just how much he nailed. You can see all the natural grain marks in this leather compared to this leather here. It's identical, but here's the thing. This glove was made in 2024, and this glove was made in the early 1960s, which I think is absolutely cool. Just looking back at history and stuff like that, the fit, the feel of this glove compared to this one is right up there, though this glove is much smaller for my hands back then, which is crazy because my coach had some pretty big hands. But that was one thing I wanted to show, just a bonus clip. This is what true classic American craftsmanship looks like. And so is this. So I wanted to say I'm a huge fan of history. I think boxing history is American history in a lot of ways too. And I think it's awesome that Richard is keeping American history alive in some ways. So Richard, if you ever watch this, you did an outstanding job. I actually gave these to my coach when I first bought them and had him try them on. And he said, "Where'd you get these?" And his first reaction was, "They feel just like my Tougher wares." And the funny part was about Toughwear, I'm pretty sure they're actually a British brand, but that's besides the point. But he said they felt identical to the Tougher wares, he calls them, that he used back in the 60s and 70s too. So I thought that was really, really cool. So guys, with that said, again, thank you so much for watching. And Richard, keep on doing what you're doing. It's just so cool that you're doing that. So way to go, man. I'll see you guys later.